Greetings petrolheads, my name is Tom, you're on my gaming channel, and today I'm playing Automation Car Company Tycoon game again, and I'm doing another review. It is from the forum user Mason148, it is called the SDI. And it's a car from 1959, so bear in mind that this is not gonna perform on today's standards, because it's not built in today's age. 1959 is what it is. So, right, we're at the chassis tab where we have a monocoque made of steel with longitudinal engine placement, McPherson struts up front, and semi-trailing arm on the rear. That's a pretty standard suspension option, I think, for that day. See, I don't know all that much about cars from the 50s. Where my knowledge really starts is, or kind of starts, I should say, is in the era of muscle cars, like 1964 onwards. Before that, I don't have very much knowledge about cars in general, but this seems to be pretty appropriate here. We have steel panels as well, so it's going to be relatively cheap. Aesthetically, there's obviously one car that comes to mind when seeing this body to begin with, and that is the Austin Healey, to me at least. I think it looks appropriate. The chrome grille it definitely gives it a distinct and high quality look, and the chrome framed taillights are also pretty nice. I think the exhaust pipe is a little bit small. Sure, you don't want to go overboard with making it too large, but maybe just a little bit bigger than that. But that's just me nitpicking. It's a roadster, as we can see. So is the Austin Healey, which is really the car I'm gonna compare this to, because I found some pretty decent stats on the Austin Healey. It is rear-wheel drive, just like the Healey. And let's go to the engine. It is a 1.6 liter inline-4 engine, compared to, what was it? In 1959 there was the Austin Healey 100-6, which had a 2.6 liter inline-6 engine. So that's quite a difference in capacity, at least. It's got a direct acting OHC. Its bore ratio is higher than its stroke, which doesn't really matter because you're not gonna rev this engine out very much in 1959 anyway, because the bottom end parts just can't take it. We got cast. So, you know, cheap if you ask me. Then 7.9 to 1 compression ratio, man. with a naturally aspirated engine, this is just, by today's standards, this is just you know, ridiculously low. But again, this is not today's age. This is 1959, and that's what they had back then. 54 cam profile, moderately aggressive, I would say, just because it's slightly above 50. Naturally aspirated, there's no turbos available yet. Single carburetor with 2 barrels, and the performance intake. It is a sports car after all. Nice. 13.9 fuel mixture is relatively lean, and 5700 RPM limit again seems adequate for the time. Short cast headers, keeping the engine cheap. Max power. Oh, so the exhaust diameter is after all limiting the power on this engine. What if we do this? We get at 82.7 horsepower. So 4 more horsepower in a light car like this, I think would make a little bit of a difference. Now let's see, let's keep it this way for now. We're using 92 octane fuel. And let's go to the trim. What do we have here? 4-speed manual gearbox is fine. Automatic locker. get the power down to the road. Well, what little power there is of it. But let's not be too cynical on this engine, because actually for a 1.6 liter engine in 1959, it's adequately powerful. It's no slouch for its capacity, for sure. Sports tires, because it's supposed to be a sports car, and 155s front and rear. You know, back then that's what they had. There's no, you know, 275mm rear tires or for a sports car. That's not like back then. They just had skinny tires. There was no traction control, so people were sliding all over the place and all that. It was fun. It must have been a fun time. Two LS drum brakes front, and you know, drum brakes rear as well. There's nothing else to say here really, other than the fact that we have brake fade. This makes it... oh yeah, because of the very limited brake disc size. Not disc size, but drum size, rotor size, if you will. We do not have any under trays. The cooling airflow is sufficient. Standard interior, standard AM radios. Look at this. No driver assists available. It's 1959, man. Standard 50's safety is, you know, the standard for its age, so can't really complain. Standard springs, twin tube dampers, passive sway bars, and a relatively normal setup here with a little bit more camber up front. Overall, 704 kilograms is light indeed. At least as light as the Austin Healey, if not lighter. Also, the economy is definitely better than on the Healey, and the acceleration from 0 to 100 is 11.3 seconds, as opposed to the inline 6 Healey's 10.7, so it's not that far off. But overall, well, the top speed is higher. That's something worth noting. And cost is 4,446 to produce, and yeah, that makes it relatively cheap as well. So overall, I mean, I can't really say that much about 50s cars, because being born in 1992 and having only experienced cars that are, you know, quote unquote younger than I am, I don't necessarily know how to compare this to other 50s cars, but it seems appropriate. It doesn't seem, you know, it doesn't seem excessive in any way. Like, there's no 5-liter V8 with 280 horsepower in this car or something like that. I wonder if you could do that actually. The engine bay is even big enough. Let's give it a 6-pack here. No, we can't. Let's make this. Oh, that's a V6. V8, 3.2 liters. Let's get this. Yeah, there we go. 5-liter pushrod V8. I mean, I know I'm just playing around at this point, but that is to show you guys what wouldn't work in a car like this to make it believable. And we also need to lower this some more. What else? Wait. We have terrible valve float. We have... oh. That's what the problem was. Valve float. And let us just decrease the rev limit by about, yeah, until this point, 4500 RPM. Let's give it a 6-pack here. You can increase this. 212 horsepower. What would this do? Yeah, it would make it about 250 kilograms heavier, and you know, hardly anyone would ever believe that this car existed in 1959 with a 5-liter V8 with 212 horsepower, with you know, all that stuff that was usually put into cars in the 60s and, you know, very early 70s. Even though in the 60s they went, you know, bigger on the capacity. So let's get this thing back to where it was. It was at 87.8 bore. And it was a 1.6 liter. Actually, no, the stroke was 82.5 because this is the engine family. And the thing, it had direct active OHC. It was at 82.4, 82.5, and then it was a 1.6 liter. Really? Wait. Oh, it's an inline. Why is this an inline 6 now? 87.8. 82.4, I think, and then just increase this. Yeah, that's where it was. Then this was at 5700, and we had a 2-burner carburetor. We had 51 cam profile, endless compression ratio, and also uh, 75.3. Okay, so there's that, I guess. Still feeling like something's not right here. I messed up something. That's where it must have been. Yeah, 78.9, there we go. There it is. So this is the SDI, an Austin Healey type 50s Roadster, which I think is pretty good for its age. And hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button, it helps out a great deal. Subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.